I went on a quest, and after multiple hours of testing, I came to an answer that these are the 7 best corner combinations on iRacing. Before we jump into it, I just want to say that these are my opinions. So if you have different opinions, I would love to hear them in the comments down below. Let's get into it. In 7th place of this list, we make our way to Austin, Texas for the S's at Circuit of the Americas. This combination is really high speed, which is also one thing that makes it really satisfying when you get it right. As you make your way down the hill after turn 1, you see a couple of S's with some curves on the inside. And I can tell you from experience that you need to stay the fuck away from these curves. Now, the things that really makes this corner combination stand out is the direction changes you have to do from right to left, back to left, and so on throughout the whole combination. The Kota S's are generally quite satisfying when you don't fly up to the moon, and that's why they're placing 7th place on our list today. Next up, we move to Florida at the Sebring International Race Circuit, and more specifically, the Le Mans Chicane. This is the second last section of the track where you first have the right-hander, a short left-hander, into a right-hander, and onto the back straight of Sebring. This is actually quite a tricky sequence of corners, but that's what, in my opinion, makes it so special. The main thing about this corner is the direction change from the left-hander where you ride the curb and go extremely wide to the right-hander where you cut in over the curb and get a really good exit onto the exit curve. Now, the track limits are not realistic whatsoever, but I think this really makes it just a tad bit more satisfying because you're not used to using that much track, and in this corner you can just absolutely abuse it on the entry without getting a slowdown, without getting an off track, and that's one thing that I really like about the Le Mans Chicane. Now, before we move on, the day of upload of this video is actually my birthday, and you know there's nothing more that I would like for my birthday than a little sub. That's so awful. Moving up to 5th place, we're still in America with Road Atlanta Turn 1 being next on the list. I find this corner exciting because it's not flat out. You need to tap the brakes, but it's still really high speed. Basically, you tap the brakes on this bit of tarmac on the outside, go for the apex, and then you head up the hill for the next blind couple of corners. The only way to go quickly through this corner is by giving your full commitment and trusting that the car will stick to the asphalt on the exit of the corner. It's important to be early and throttle as the car will lose a bit of power coming up the hill, which is why you just need so much commitment, and I think that's what makes this corner really exciting and gives it a spot in 5th place on this list. Now, next up on the list, I've been very bad at choosing a specific corner, so I've basically gone for the whole track of Circuit Jerez, the newest track added to iRacing. Now, what I really like about this track is first of all the flow. It really has an amazing flow with loads of medium to high speed corners that makes you really have to trust the car in a high downforce car. Second of all, I really like the way that you can ride the curbs here without getting off tracks or anything. It's a really satisfying feeling, and on top of that, I really like the multiple direction changes there are between corners and how you're always on the limit of the grip. It's really a satisfying driving experience, especially in the LMDH. Now, the main corners I really want to point out are the first couple of corners, as well as this left-hander in the final sector and these 2 fast right-hander in the final sector. All in all, they make a great driving experience and gives it a spot in 4th place on the list. In 3rd place, we make our way to Australia for one of the hardest and most exciting corner combinations in iRacing. We're heading to Bathurst Mount Panorama with the downhill section taking the 3rd spot on this list. This combination requires so much commitment from the get-go. As you head down the hill, you slow the car down and go down the gears, riding the curb on the left side, riding the curb on the right side, going into the dipper and continuing down the mountain. This combination has a really good flow. When you get it right, it is extremely satisfying, especially with the compression in the dipper, and when you go into replay and have a look at how close you are to the walls, it is extremely satisfying. However, we all know that this piece of tarmac is incredibly dangerous, as if you slightly tap the walls, you can probably guarantee that your race is going to be over and you're gonna sit there in your pit and cry about it. But I think that's also part of the charm of this corner. I really like the downhill section at Bathurst, and it earns itself a spot in 3rd place on the list. In 2nd place, we find ourselves in France as we travel to Le Mans for the Porsche curves. This combination of corners is absolutely crazy. The amount of speed you carry through these corners, especially with high downforce cars, but even with GT cars, is absolutely insane. As you break into this corner combination, you start out with a very long right-hander into a double left-hander with a blue wall on the right side, then you need to be very careful of. After that, you have another long right-hander leading into a final left-hander to round off the Porsche curves at Le Mans. This corner combination is incredibly flowy with multiple direction changes going from left to right, and I know we all get a bit scared if we get a bit too close to the blue wall, and we've probably all hit it in practice once or twice. The Le Mans Porsche curves is a big thumbs up, and that's why it earns itself a spot in second place on this list. Moving on to the best corner combination in iRacing, in my opinion, we travel to Germany. The Nürburgring Nordschleife is home to many great corners, but my favorite section of this track starts at the carousel and stretches a couple of kilometers down the road, almost onto the back straight. After you've exited the carousel, you head up the hill to these very kind of flowy, medium speed corners. You can see here into this left-hander, switching to the right-hander up the hill with negative camber as well, going into this next one. It's really a satisfying combo. Now, the best corners on this combination are these corners upcoming. This one where you go to the curb on the left and then you switch to the curb on the right. This is the most satisfying corner there probably is, and with this one coming up after, I really love this corner combination. That was possibly the worst track guide, but you get the point. This corner combination has an absolutely amazing flow with the way you mount some curbs, how you stay away from other curbs, and how you just generally have to kind of manipulate the car to get the grip around the Nordschleife. I really just love. And that's why this part of Nürburgring Nordschleife, it takes number 1 on the list. Thank you for watching. I've been Marcus, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.